There is a family in the last town, on the last road, that owns 19 keys, and not one of them has ever opened anything. The town lives on salvage. Crews walk out past the wall in the morning, into the drowned and ruined places the old world left behind, and whatever they carry home crosses one set of scales and feeds everyone. Most hauls are wire and cord and scrap. But 2 days before this story, the Haxholt crew came up out of a sunken street with a full ring of keys, brass and iron, and one of pale bone, and the clerks at the scales argued for an hour about what a key is worth when nobody can find its lock. The town decided for them. Keys for locks nobody has found. That is not scrap, that is a promise. Somewhere out in the ruined world are 19 doors the old world shut and meant to open again. Uriah Haxholt is 58, and she has led crews out that gate for 30 years. She hung the ring on her belt and let the drinking houses have their fun. She knew what the keys were worth. She was wrong about that. They were worth more. That same week, the spring melt dropped the water across the flats. Out in the flooded flats sit the drowned villages, old world places worked over so many times that new crews train there, because everything worth taking was taken a generation ago. Except the water fell that week, a foot of it, and a foot is enough. Somebody walking a far lane saw what the water had been hiding: a stone stair going down behind a ruined house, and at the bottom of it, a metal door. Shut. Locked. A locked door in a worked-out village is the loudest quiet news there is. And there is a buyer in town who pays triple, in clean coin, for salvage nobody else can get at, and never asks where it came from. Word was he wanted anything with a lock still on it, opened or unopened. So the Haxholt crew signed the gatebook at dawn. 5 names, and the ring of 19 keys riding on Uriah's belt, going out to meet a lock at last. The road out cost them. Where the lane pinches past a collapsed barn, something big had grown into the ruin over a season, and it was not asleep. They read the ground, went wide through cold, shin-deep water, and nobody made a sound for 400 yards. Salvage crews live longer by walking around things than through them. The village at low water looked like knuckles of a drowned hand. Every wall wore a pale ring where the water had stood for years. The stair was exactly where the talk said, mud still slick on the steps. Somebody had been there first. Around the top of the stair lay a half-poured line of salt, days old, broken by rain. Out here, salt lines are how you hold ground, and someone had started to lay claim to that door, and left meaning to come back, and had not come back. Nobody said anything about that. Everybody thought about it. The lock had spent 2,000 years underwater, and come out of it barely touched, the way preserved things come out of the drowned places looking newer than they should. Uriah took the ring off her belt and tried her 19 famous keys, one at a time, oldest first, while her crew watched the flats behind her. Not one of them fit. 19 keys, and the first lock the family ever met turned every single one away. The youngest of the crew got it open instead, with picks and a bent tip and a word his mother would not have liked. The door swung in on 2,000 years of dark, and the first thing that came out was moving air. A cellar should not breathe. Inside was the haul of a lifetime. Dry shelves above an old water line, 2 coils of ancient wire, the exact thing the quiet buyer pays triple for, wrapped in the ghost of a tarp. A metal cabinet bolted to the wall, its own small lock still shut. The crew worked fast and spoke in hands. And at the back of the room stood a doorway with no door in it, a rough passage sloping down into the dark, and the moving air was coming up out of it, and the air was sweet. Everyone in that town is raised on the same rule. Water and air that smell of honey are telling you to leave. Then the bell rang. Far below and far away and moving. Every soul in that town lives inside the sound of bells. They know a true tone the way you know your own name. This tone was cracked. It was slow. And it was deliberate, struck and struck again by something that had learned what a bell is for. There is no bell under the flats. There is nothing under the flats. That is what everyone had always said about everywhere. right up until the things everyone says started coming up short. Uriah Haxholt did not spend one more minute on the shelves. They took the coils, unbolted the cabinet whole rather than force its lock, and climbed. And then she did the thing the town still talks about. She had the door locked again behind them. Not to keep other crews out. To keep a locked door between that bell and the sky. They poured an unbroken line of salt across the stair, a spade wide, and they walked home and made the gate before dark, all five, carrying a fortune and saying nothing. The quiet buyer met them the same night. He took the cabinet exactly as agreed, unopened, paid out the coils at triple in clean coin, and never touched the small lock in front of them. On his way out, he asked one question, mildly, the way you ask about weather. Had the door been locked from the outside or from within? Nobody had checked. Nobody in that crew has stopped thinking about it since. The last thing that happened that night was small. Beside the cellar door, on a nail, where a person would hang a key on their way out, Uriah had found a single key on a loop of wire. She sat at her own table, by her own candle, and threaded it onto the family ring. The 19 keys are for locks nobody has found. The 20th is for a lock they found, and shut, and hope stays shut. She carries all 20 everywhere she goes. She says, you hold on to a key the way you hold on to a promise. She has never once said which kind.